Are we recording?
We are. We're recording.
Oh, we could get some serious outtakes from this episode, guys.
Quite possibly.
Welcome to the latest episode of Don't Work with Tossers, the podcast that helps you rid tossers from your life and improve your work-life blend with business tips and life lessons. And believe me, today we are going to have some serious business tips, but probably a lot more life lessons from my guests. So I have managed to entice the absolutely awesome Thompson and James Mellor from the other side of the camera, because these guys are the production team of Don't Work with Tossers, the podcast, along with Sasha, who is still at the other side of the camera. And I have so much to thank them for helping us to get this season of podcast underway, recorded, edited, for becoming friends, all of that stuff. I can assure you that this episode is going to be a fun one. Danny, James, hello.
Hello.
Hi.
How are you?
I'm all right. How are you?
You've picked a cracking gaff here, haven't you?
I know. It's amazing, this studio. Albion Street Studios. I can highly recommend it for podcast recording. And you get to work with you two as well. Danny, you are the photographer. James is the filmmaker. Together you are the... I don't want to say the Little and Large of Halifax, or the Laurel and Hardy, or the Morecambe and Wise.
Cheers.
But I think you're a combination of all of those. Halifax's very own double act.
You're not the first person that said that. Yeah, since we and believe it or not, we haven't known each other that many years. And anyone who comes up to us and says, "Oh, how long you two don't like since school days?" It's like, no, just before the pandemic. Really, we first really met and. Formed an incredible friendship and business partnership.
Especially over COVID. We had a 1-to-1 at Pride and Providence, didn't we? I went. They were networking on and got his card off him, and we're very similar things. Like, you know, people were saying, who's done your video? It's class, is that, you know? And next minute, you know, they were like, oh, it's Jane. His name just kept popping up, and I thought, I need to get out of this guy. You know what I mean? See what's going on. And like I say, through pandemic, you know, we'd be on for hours, wouldn't we? Wife shouting over shoulder, tea's ready. I'm like, oh, it's not been 2.5 hours, my work. Right, I'll see you tomorrow. Just kept going on from there.
So the title of this podcast is Once a Tosser, Always a Tosser, ? Obviously, when you first met James and James met Danny, yep, you didn't think each other were tossers, otherwise we wouldn't be sat in this brilliant studio. But this is your second studio, but we'll come to that shortly. I know when I said to you about being my guests and I gave you the title, and I said, once a tosser, always a tosser. And Danny just went, yes, exactly. I thought, this is going to be the shortest podcast on creation. He said, it's all right, James will have a lot more to say than I do. But I'm not too sure about that. So give us a little bit of background, because Danny, like me, your background way back when is hospitality, isn't it?
It is, yeah. I did a spell at Beefeater, Witherspoons, working me up to, you know, pub manager kind of thing, as you could call it. I don't know what they call it nowadays, but yeah, we're all from there. But it blends lovely into what we do now, and you know, I bring a lot of those skills into what I do now, as you know.
You make a great cup of tea, and you're ace at dusting.
Yeah, so it's those factors as well. Obviously, the skills of photography and James with his filming and stuff like that. But yeah, it helps out a lot. It's good with people. You need to have good people skills, obviously, what we do, and in hospitality. I think in life as well. You know, it's one of those, if you don't get on with someone, don't matter how good you are at something, if you don't, you know, if you're rubbish with folk, you've had your chips, basically, haven't you?
You have. Yeah, you have. And I think one of the things we talked about in the episode with Duncan was communication and the importance of communication. And I do think some roles and some opportunities that we're given in life help us to better to communicate, to better communicate, to communicate in a better way. Yeah. That's important. James, and your background, what is your background? How did you become Rainbow Trout Films?
Well, it goes a lot further back than that. I guess when I first got my first experience on a TV set, and I was only 10 years old, and at the time my dad had a trout farm, and they had a random call from BBC in Manchester in those days. We're going back quite a few years here. And it was for a scene in a then unknown series called Red Dwarf. Now it's quite a big, well-known series. So I went along to the studios in Manchester as a little 10-year-old, walked onto the set, and it was just like opening up into this whole magical world of cameras, lighting. And I'm a bit of a geek, so I love the spaceship sets and things. And I just remember watching these scenes, and my mum, bless her, had her hand over my mouth. I had my hand over my mouth because I was laughing that hard. And we were watching the scene with Danny John Jules when he's trying to eat this chicken Marengo. Too slow for this cat. Hey, this chicken's faster than I thought. I still remember it to the day, the lines from that scene. But yeah, they did this fun scene where it was raining fish in the sleeping quarters, and they did some close-ups of some live fish, which were my dad's fish. So that's sort of where I got my first passion into the industry, and basically from that point onwards, nobody could tell me different that I was not going to work in this industry. I didn't know exactly what I wanted to do, but I knew I wanted to work in the film and TV world, and that's what I did, and fought hard, got work experience, moved on, then did some work for Channel 4, did some work for Sky, and then it was through probably my second stint at Sky where I formed Rainbow Trout Films, because there was an opportunity to become a limited company, and that was always one of my life goals. I wanted my own production company, and that was down in London. So that went really well. I was producing lots of commercials, a lot of corporate content for Sky and other clients, and then obviously there was the big financial crash around 2008, 2009. So things changed, and then we had the desire to move back to my hometown of Halifax, which I've now been back in for coming up to 12 years, and I've loved it. And I thought, I want to bring an essence of what it is to work in London, what it is to work in Soho. I used to love going into Soho, and I'm going, oh, we've got this voiceover with this actor. We're going down to Soho, and I just love the atmosphere of going down there and just the buzz. And I thought, with Albion Street Studios, if we can create an essence of that here in Halifax, that's a great tick for me. And I think, from what we've heard, I think we've achieved it.
Well, I absolutely love it. And I mean, for me, when I first... Well, I didn't really know in the middle of July I was going to start a podcast. I went for a coffee with Janet Babb, Sinead Sopler, and a very good friend of ours who's also been a guest, Deborah Ogden. And they more or less persuaded me. Janet came up with the title Don't Work with Tossers, based on my little book of tossers that I have here on the very table. And drove back from Huddersfield to Scarborough via a client's on the way. And by the time I'd got back to Scarborough, I decided that I was going to launch a podcast, which it wasn't something that I hadn't thought about before and then put back in a box, and thought about before and put back in a box. And I know you guys have been thinking about it for ages, but I'm going to convince you it's a good idea, and you must launch it. So when I contacted Deborah, who has her own successful podcast, and said, how do you record yours, which she doesn't do in a studio, but I said, I really want a studio. I'd like somebody that maybe could do photography and record the films. And she said, oh, well, there's these two guys in Halifax, Albion Street Studios. And she said, and to top it all, she said, our beautiful friend Mandy's picture is hanging in the entrance. And so I contacted Danny. You were away, I think, James, in the summer. I contacted Danny.
Did, yeah.
realised that you weren't tossers, having had one conversation with Danny and a Zoom meeting with you two. Even after Danny said to me, have you thought about a makeup artist?
I didn't mean it.
It was a bad. I'd obviously had a bad day. You know, I was not looking great on this Zoom, obviously, and I thought, do you know what? Maybe he is a tosser. No, I didn't.
No, Danny likes to put his foot in it.
Yeah,
I do. Yeah.
Did you guys get the blue memo? By the way, I don't feel that it's
No.
No, you definitely didn't coordinate your dress.
I have a lot of blue on my defence.
So, Danny, just tell me a little bit about, you said about being in the hospitality industry, but is that where you started? Is that where you started your career? There are some serious tossers in the hospitality industry.
Some absolute belters. I could write a book on tossers in bars and restaurants, my word. Do an encyclopedia on it, but when I first started off with the photography, it was through a camera club, a local one, Halifax Photography Society. And I just got this little camera what my uncle sent as well, my wife's uncle, Keith, bless him. And we're at a 90th birthday, my grandma Mart's, bless her, and just had a look through my phone and said, you do some decent photos, don't you? I said, don't know, do I? And anyway, just says, right, I'll lend you some kit. Anyway, so he lent me kit, got YouTube out, had a look at this and just got absolutely addicted. And then I had a bad time with wife, bless her, who had mental health breakdown, nearly lost her, all that kind of stuff. So having that, and then I lost my job 2 weeks when she came back out. So I had, being not just talking from bloke point of view, but they always say you bring it in, don't you, kind of thing. You got to look after your family, kind of thing. Kicked in, so no job. Wife's just come out of hospital after 10 months. So right, I'm going to have to pull my finger out here. And, usually it's one end at stick, isn't it? But I had a proper shitty stick. Sorry, but you know what I mean? A proper stick, you know what I mean? Just caked. And I just thought, right, that's what I'm going for. And then I never looked back. I got a part-time job just to help me out. And then got one down at Baths, which were down at Barnsley, Metrodome, taking photos, there in baths and stuff for families and stuff. So that was pretty cool, getting me into it. And then, like they say, rest is history.
It's just amazing. And I think the fact it was like your back was against the wall and you had to do something to get out. But the fact that you could do something when you'd been through all you'd been through with your wife, and the fact you could do something that you had a passion for, you loved, and that you've got such an ability for as well. And
you just feel like, well, when you're on proper rock bottom, I don't think they could get any bottom where I feel anyway. It was probably one of the worst times of my life, apart from losing my dad. But you know what I mean? It were proper rock bottom. And then to come and do this, and then meet James over COVID, and help develop this, and what we're doing now is just like, it seems a million miles away. You know what I mean? Which is amazing. But if you keep going at it, consistency, as you probably come across to your clients a lot, just change a little bit every day and you'll get there.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I'll just jump into that because we both shared such loss in our younger life. I lost my mum when I was 15. Yeah. You lost your dad
15.
When he was 15. And that loss at such a young age really affects you in so many ways throughout life. And then it was just like a synergy of understanding that I always know when the anniversary is dad's up, and I've just had my 30th of my mum's just last month, and it's a really tough week, and you go through all the range of emotions. But to know I've got somebody looking out for me in Danny, it just makes it so much easier.
Yeah. And vice versa, innit? You know, when I'm not, firing all cylinders, as I'd say, he'll know when to just calm it around and leave jokes out and stuff like that.
Yeah, and I think that is a huge. It has a huge impact on your work-life blend. And I know I talk about work-life blend all the time, but actually it's that ability to know that you don't have to be, there's somebody else there to help you. And that actually you can be your authentic self. It doesn't matter, you don't have to put on this front or bravery, because actually it's, some days you just can't be bothered.
Oh, you just can't do it.
Or as the kids would say, CBA. But yeah, that is so true. So the title, once a tosser, always a tosser. I mean, you've been in business. The roles that you've had in the work that you've done, James, and the roles like hospitality. There are tossers in everywhere. There are tossers in all walks of life. They come in all shapes.
They're all over.
Sizes. They come in. They're all of all sorts of genders. And I think my question would be, from a personal point of view, do you tolerate tossers, or do you try very hard to not have them in your life? Or have you found, running your own business, that sometimes you have no choice, you don't have to say who they are, you sometimes have no choice but to work with tossers?
I can't stick them, to be fair. I won't. You know what I'm like? Very black and white. I can't, no, I just nicely not deal with them anymore. You know, I'll always say hello and stuff like that, but, you know, my wife always says I'm a bit like an animal. If you're not kissing your face off, I want to rip your head off. And she's bang on. There's no real middle with me. You know, if I can't contemplate thinking, what an absolute, you know, I can't stick them. It's just straight away, right, ping, right. James will tell you, there's even a few, I'm like, Danny, how did you do that? I'm like, it's easy, just, yeah, I've had enough. And I'm not nasty with it, I don't want that, you know, you just, there you go, right. And he even says sometimes, right, you won't be dealing with them again, will you? Nope.
Well, you know,
but I find it quite easy that way, and it upsets me sometimes, obviously, if you're stood on your foot or all that, you know what I mean, as you could call it, but that's it, and I don't find it hard not to try and negotiate. I'm just like, right, that's it, done, yep, finished.
I do think that's a great way to be, and I think we've talked so much about being authentic and your authentic self, and that's what I love about you guys. I'm not disagreeing that you're not black and white, Danny. We've become friends in a very short space of time.
We have.
And I've come to understand that, yeah. But I do think, and what about you, James? I mean, I think Danny's approach is great, and I have to say, it's like I've put this title out to the universe, and the universe has ridded me of a few tossers along the way, but I think some of that is my tolerance and what I do with the work-life blend coaching, and also looking at different aspects of that, you know, systems that I make people implement, and I've done myself, and different ways. But what about you, James? How do you deal with, or do you just get Danny in to sort the tossers out?
Yeah, I definitely get Danny in to sort the tossers out.
Bad egg.
I think it's learning, and I think what I've learned is trust your gut instinct, because every time I've had a bad experience or got burnt, it's because I've not trusted my gut instinct. I'm like going, there's something not quite right here. They might be all good on the surface, but then there's something else going on in the background, and then you go, hang on a minute, this isn't right, this isn't working. And I've had clients where we've had to part company and going, this just isn't working. And I've been brave enough now to do that, whereas a few years before, especially when I was in the freelance mindset, which I started off as a freelancer, you have to take everything and anything, and it's really hard then to turn work down, especially in the economy we have now, where for some people are really struggling at the moment. So you've got to be really mindful to be working with the right sort of people. So I've now learned, it's like, no, this isn't quite right, and it's that power of saying no to something, and that's what I've learned. Actually, this isn't right, and saying no. Go on. There are other filmmakers out there that you can work with who are probably better suited to you, and it's learning where your skill sets are and where you're best placed. So I'm not doing every video production under the sun. I'm now in the position where I'm able to pick and choose a little bit more of the clients I work with, and the ones I don't, then I will just say, the easiest way is to overprice your bill. And that's a good tip. So, I really don't want this, charge triple. Obviously,
if you've
I don't do that.
If you've received a triple the price quote from James Mellor
James
of
don't like
Rainbow
you.
Trout Films, take it from me, you're likely to be a tosser.
No, I think
I got that from my business coach.
We're lucky we've got an amazing network around Calder, Halifax, and further afield. You know, we look after people, and like you said earlier, Tina, you know what I mean? You come here, your breakfast sorted, all that. That's what it's all about. You know, it's about nailing a brief and doing it all properly, and making sure people go away with what they wanted, and with a nice bit of creativity from us as well. Yeah,
and I travel 2 hours, maybe more, because depending on the M62, the M62 and the A64 to get from Scarborough to you guys are not the best roads in the world to travel on, but I think it was that initial introduction from Deborah. It was that initial visit. It was just that making me feel at home, knowing that there's a synergy, and I do think that that's really important. And I work with a lot of different clients and have over the years, whether that's through the business enhancement support or the work-life blend coaching, or content creation, which is what I seem to be doing quite a lot of for people at the moment. And it is that saying no. The clients that I support through the business enhancement, you know, when they're trying to build their business and, well, I need this bit of work and I need this bit. No, you don't. You need to understand how you do your best work. And I have a saying that I use all the time, which is, if the passion's in doubt, get out, which is really that trust your gut.
Yeah.
Because actually, if you haven't got that passion in your gut for something, it is absolutely pointless, and trusting your gut is the most important thing. But actually, it's also, when it comes to your business, if you haven't got a passion for your business, then you can't drive that business forward. And you guys do have a passion. I mean, you work individually, and you work together on different projects, don't you?
Yeah, that's correct, yeah. So if someone comes for photography, obviously it gets passed to me. Anything for just film goes to, obviously, James. Anything, you know, for both, me and James get on board. And when you mention about getting giddy with that stuff and all that, we had one other day just saying, she goes, you're doing photos to me, you seem more giddy about it than I do when they're my pictures. And I'm like, well, that's what we do get a bit giddy, don't we, getting creative and going in this, meeting room and, doing Pinterest boards, all that kind of stuff. I do get to it. As soon as I know on phone, I'm straight on Pinterest, thinking and getting ideas, and just with little bits I know, just so when it comes back to a conversation, I send them the link and they know exactly where I'm looking from a photography point of view. It's all right me saying, I'm going to take some photos of you outside piece, or you won't have a clue what, but if I showed you some bits about, it's going to be like this and that, you're like, exactly what you're on about. I'll be cool with that, and then if they don't want it, then we'll go on to the next one.
Yeah, and it's the excitement of coming to work. I really look forward to coming to the studio. The banter will just bounce off each other. And equally, when one of us is having a rougher day or struggling, we'll bring each other up. So, because in business, not every day is rosy and wonderful. There are some really tough days, and we've had some really tough months. But through the resilience of, I'm not doing this on my own. I've got my wingman here, looking out for me, and vice versa.
Yep.
It just makes the whole process so much easier. And to be quite honest, to create what we've created together here, I would never have been brave enough to just do it on my own.
No.
So
I told you earlier, didn't I, Tina? A guy came in, a property developer came in. He says, right, if I need to do a studio in Yorkshire or like that, would you and James come and help me out, plan it? He says, because this is amazing. And that would an absolute massive compliment, because like I say, it's not just me and his wives got involved as well. And I was telling Duncan earlier, you know, we wrote it all down, and it was just like on a piece of paper. We're getting these free apps on iPad, won't we? Sending them over. Well, I won't have that room. All right, we'll change that. And it was a good one. It went out for a meal with Mrs. A bit of brownie points for us as well. You know, and you know what I mean. So it was all good. We had to get them involved.
No, it wasn't just me and Danny. It was very much our both combined families and looking from it from as a family business. And it's like two families coming together and running a business together. Yeah. Although our partners are separate from the business, they're still very much part of it because it's got to work for everybody, and that's what we've tried to do.
And I think that for me was one of the things, because I'm very much a family oriented person. My parents had their business, I worked in the family business. We've got, you know, family that we support. My eldest son Tom, he's got his own business. Our youngest son Charlie works in that business now with Tom's business partner Joe, and it is that you've got to have that same synergy, you've got to have those same ethos, those same ethics. And for me, when I first came here, it was very clear. Just with the initial conversations, you brought your wives into those conversations, your children into those conversations. Yeah. We've sat out there while we've been recording and we've eaten those amazing sandwiches from the market. We've talked about family and with guests and everybody that's come. It's that family atmosphere, and I think that is all so important. And I think I used to be very good at giving people a second chance. You know, that tosser that had been, and crikey, in my personal life, I really have some stories to tell with that one, but we don't have long enough because Sasha's waving a hand at me telling me that we've only got a certain length of time left. But I think once you have been bitten by a tosser, you've been treated badly by a tosser, it's unlikely they are going to ever change their spots. But it's building that bigger picture of their initial behaviour, the way they are. And what's the saying? You only get one chance to make a first impression.
Yep.
And I think for you guys and what you're saying about in business and the choices you make, you made such an amazing first impression when I chatted to you, Danny, and then the Zoom meeting and coming along and the people that have been here, and you know, just the whole feeling of the studios has been amazing, and I couldn't have picked a better. I could get quite emotional, but I'm not going to, because I had a makeup artist do it. No, I didn't. I did it all myself.
I'm not even going to comment on that one.
I couldn't have picked a better production team. And you're so worth travelling the 2 hours on the A64 and the M62. But even in this short space of time, and only this is the fourth visit, it feels like coming home. Yeah. And I think that for me has been so lovely, and to be able to be here. And I just want to say thank you for not being tossers, guys. That's all I can say.
Try his best.
And what, to be tossers or not be tossers? And you've just been the best, and I look forward to season 2 in 2024. Bring it on.
Absolutely, we love creating these for you, Tina. It's been a real pleasure and a real honour to have you here, and being our first proper full podcast client in the studio. Magic. It really is. It
is, and I feel like we've not just gained a client but a good friend as well, definitely.
Well, thank you for coming from the other side of the camera, and for sitting and chatting to me today, Danny and James.
Welcome. Thank you. Thanks for having us.